the reality is he might not ever fight again. Like, who knows? Like, if he has surgery on his eye and it doesn't go well and he can't see out of the eye, apparently he's still fucked up in his right eye. There's some tendon damage or something. And, you know, eyes are so tricky. You never know. Like, unless you're a fucking complete psychopath like Michael Bisping, who fought 11 fights in the UFC blind in one eye.
Joe Rogan believes the UFC is moving toward a serious problem. And if nothing changes, it won't just be individual fighters losing valuable time. The sport itself will begin to show real cracks. According to Rogan, this isn't the kind of issue that explodes overnight and forces immediate reform. It's much quieter than that. The damage builds slowly. Contenders disappear without headlines. Divisions stall without controversy. And by the time everyone realizes how deep the problem goes, the losses have already happened. That's why this conversation matters. Recent situations involving Paddy Pimblett and Tom Aspinall have brought the issue back into sharp focus. Two high-profile fighters in completely different divisions are dealing with eye injuries that could sideline them for months, possibly even longer. Not because they were finished in spectacular fashion, but because of damage that quietly changed everything.
The fingers were straight in. The fight should have been stopped. He couldn't see. It was a foul. He couldn't see. Then you can't fight. You know, if he'd have got knocked over the head, kicked next, then it would have been worse. I don't know. And then he said, sometimes when your eyes here like that, it can become displaced and stay there. And they did a few tests on that, and they said it doesn't seem like that. And his vision on the eye that's the best eye, his eye wasn't following properly, so the muscles weren't working strong enough to go this way. This one just wasn't working that good at all. So we've got to have additional tests further this week, and Moyes is sorting the tests out.
This is exactly the scenario Joe Rogan has been warning about for years. He has repeatedly explained that eye pokes aren't just unlucky moments or freak accidents. They're a structural problem built into modern MMA. Fighters are trained to control distance using extended hands, open fingers, and constant framing.
About Rose Namajunas talking to the fans in a very emotional state. It was heartbreaking to see. Remember that video? She's like openly sobbing. And shout out to the fans who were there to console her, to make her feel better. It was part heartbreaking and part beautiful to watch in a way. Anyway, right now as we speak, Rose is undergoing eye surgery, believe it or not. She was poked multiple times in the eye. They actually just sent me a photo of one of said pokes. Here's one photo that we have. There you go. And yeah, I mean, again, this is the thing with these. Like, you sit at home, you're like, okay, suck it up. You know, Tom Aspinall, suck it up. Well, guess what? Here's a photo of Rose heading into surgery as we speak. You can see her eye, and you're about to see more. And he tells me that she has, I'm going to try to get this right, a canalicular laceration, which is a break in the tear drainage system.
It's effective, it's legal, and it's taught at every level of the sport. But as athletes become faster, sharper, and more aggressive, the margin for error shrinks dramatically. When exchanges speed up, eye contact becomes almost inevitable. And when it happens, the system rarely responds with urgency. The referee gives a warning. The fight goes on. The crowd moves on.
Yeah, sorry, but twice before he got warned for it.
Mike Bisping, he lost his eye. And it's just a horrendous thing to think as a parent, really. And I know what it's like these days with people saying what they want, but if it's just your son, then they could lose an eye and their health, and they've got children to look after. You know, something needs doing about it. Yeah, that's right.
But the damage often doesn't fully reveal itself until weeks or even months later, when fighters are forced into long recovery periods and divisions quietly grind to a halt. In Tom Aspinall's case, the injury was serious enough that the fight couldn't continue, instantly freezing the heavyweight landscape and creating uncertainty at the very top of the division. In Paddy Pimblett's case, the fight went on, but the fallout is now emerging, with his momentum potentially paused at a critical stage of his career. Different situations, same underlying problem. Joe Rogan has never framed this as an issue of blaming fighters. His criticism has always been aimed at the rules and the equipment. He has repeatedly pointed to glove design as a major contributor. arguing that gloves, which naturally curl the fingers downward, could greatly reduce accidental eye contact without changing the sport itself.
Leather that goes over the fingers and goes behind the hand like this.
Almost like pride gloves a little bit, but over the fingers.
But covering the fingertips. The problem is the fingertips going into the eyes. Like every time you see a poke, it's like one finger going into the eyeball. But if you have it covered up, it would be different. Like it wouldn't be one poke going straight through. It'd be a layer of leather.
But I'll tell you this, I've been fighting for 25 years. I've never poked anybody in the eye, not even in training.
Eye pokes are probably the worst. I think when a guy gets eye poked, I think it should be a 1-point deduction no matter what. Because you can't see. I would say that's probably the worst out of all these things. You can speak to this. You get poked in the eye.
I know I've been poked in the eye, but I've poked a few dudes in the eye. I'm trying to stay out of this. I'm sitting here trying to figure out how I approach this.
Or slowing the action. Other combat sports have adapted their equipment as athletes have evolved. MMA, for the most part, has not. And that's where frustration begins to turn into something more serious. When Dana White was asked about the issue, his response struck many fans as abrupt and dismissive, showing little urgency and no clear sign that meaningful changes were being considered. To a growing segment of the MMA audience, it felt like fighter safety was being treated as a background concern rather than a core responsibility. That perception is dangerous. When fighters lose months or even years because of eye injuries, the damage goes far beyond physical recovery. Careers lose momentum, rankings freeze, title pictures collapse, and fans slowly begin to lose trust in how the sport is being managed. There's also a deeper conversation happening beneath the surface. Some fans believe extended hands are sometimes used deliberately to gain an advantage. Knowing enforcement is inconsistent and serious punishment is unlikely to affect the outcome of a fight.
Going in for a second surgery or just had it, and by surgery I mean injections. I have no idea. Get a quote from him. God fucking forbid I say something about it. Go ahead.
Do you have any updates about the eye of Tom Aspinall? And is there a rematch in the works?
Oh, Jesus. Don't let me talk about Tom Aspinall's eye. Apparently he's going in for a second surgery or just had it, and by surgery I mean injections. I have no idea. Get a quote from him. God forbid I say something about it. Go ahead.
Jeez.
How close did you think you were to
Here's your quote. Catching strays, aren't I? Catching strays in my own living room on a Sunday morning.
Wouldn't it be interesting if Tom came out and said, no, I'm not going to rematch him. He's a cheater. Why would I rematch a guy that already cheated, that violated not one of my eyes, but both? I gave him his chance. He chose to cheat. I'm going to move on. If Tom took that stance, which he's not going to do, I'm saying, but for fun, I think he'd have a lot of people that supported him. For some reason, Surreal has come out of this thing with his hands clean. He's the one that did the poking.
They've got to do something about these eye pokes. The rule is you got to have your hands like this, but you can still have your fingers out straight. You can't do that, you can do that. That's the stupidest rule I've ever seen in my life. Make a fist. Simple as that. You're throwing punches, and yeah, you got to parry shots, but you just got to unbend your fingers. It's really not that hard. This is a stupid rule.
Only Tom knows what happened. Could he see? Couldn't he see? Could he continue? I can't make people fight if they feel they've been injured. After the Jones fight, a lot of people wrote Cyril gone off. He looked damn good tonight. I mean, he had Tom bloodied up, and Tom didn't want to continue in the fight. The rematches.
Not because the sport encourages cheating, but because the system quietly rewards risk without offering real deterrence. Whether that belief is fair or not, the fact that it exists at all is a warning sign. Joe Rogan's message has stayed consistent. The athletes have evolved. The speed has increased. The margins are thinner than ever. And if the rules and equipment don't evolve with them, the sport will continue to bleed talent in ways that never appear on highlight reels. But that's the real danger here. Not one bad fight, not one controversial moment, but a slow erosion where fighters lose irreplaceable time, divisions lose credibility, and the UFC is forced to react instead of lead. If nothing changes, this problem doesn't fade, it multiplies. And when the consequences finally arrive, the question won't be whether eye pokes are part of MMA. It will be why the UFC ignored a fixable issue for so long and allowed the cracks to spread.